Welcome, everybody. This is a great bunch of people here this morning and so excited. I want to welcome everybody to our festival and events. And GMIST this morning is partnering with a wonderful organization, Festival and Events Ontario. And the host for today is Debbie, and she will introduce herself and take it from there. So I'm going to hand it right over to Debbie.
Thanks, Darlene. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tips and Tricks for Festivals and Events, hosted by Victoria from Harmony Marketing. I am with Festivals and Events Ontario, and I met Darlene and Nora a couple of years ago, and they attended a few of the festivals, and we do something called Tuesday Talks with Theo, and that's how we met, and they asked me to do some things for you. So here I am, and today we have Victoria from Harmony Marketing, who's going to be talking about tips and tricks for the festival and event world. I know she'll introduce herself, but I just wanted to make a note that, and Victoria, you can confirm this, you're going to do questions after each section, correct? You can either unmute and ask your question or put it in the chat, and I will make sure that Victoria hears it. And that's it. So let's have some fun. Let's interact. And over to you, Victoria.
Thanks so much. Well, good morning, everyone. First off, I'm just going to say I'm getting over the tail of a cold. So if you hear a bit of a rasp or I have to take a drink of water, I apologize in advance. So yes, I am Victoria Mahoney, and I am the head of marketing and partnerships at a boutique marketing agency called Harmony Marketing. I'm just going to share my screen with everyone right now as I walk through the presentation. So hopefully everyone's seeing that. All right. So this is Festival and Events Trends, Tips, and Tricks. I'm definitely going to try to get through as much as I can today. There's a lot to cover. I am focusing a lot on sponsorship, experiential marketing, some post reporting, some data, things like that. So I'm going to stop throughout as I go through the various sections. And if there's any questions, please feel free to ask. You can put it in the chat, or again, as Debbie said, you can kind of unmute and ask me directly. So I'm just going to walk through who Harmony Marketing is, who I am, what my background is quickly, an overview of sponsorship versus experiential marketing, or XM, as I like to refer to it. It's not XM Sirius Radio, it's XM as in experiential marketing. Some revenue opportunities with experiential marketing and sponsorship, and how to maybe kind of add to your bottom line and help with your budgets. Activation, inspiration, and customization for partnerships, maximizing your physical event space and doing a bit of an event audit, the importance of data and post reporting, how to, tips and tricks for pitching and securing some of those experiential marketing partners or sponsors, and then some overall festival and event trends that I'm seeing in the industry for 2024 and beyond, and then any kind of final questions as well at the end. Okay, sorry. All right, so who is Harmony Marketing? Harmony Marketing, we are a boutique marketing agency in Toronto. We co-produce 2 festivals and events on Toronto's waterfront, which I will get to on the next slide. But we are a very small team. Small but mighty is kind of our tagline. We contribute to a lot of events across Canada, primarily waterfront-focused events. Our kind of claim to fame for our annual event in Toronto on the waterfront is that we brought the world's largest rubber duck to Toronto in 2017, which caused quite a stir in the industry. It was definitely met with a bit of controversy and then ultimately turned into a very giant success for us. We do a lot of marketing, sponsorship, PR, communications, social media, and a lot of the festival and event work leading up to the event. And then we work very closely with a co-production agency that manages more of the logistics, infrastructure, fencing, permitting, all that kind of stuff. So we do more of the marketing, sponsorship, government grants, PR, things like that. So the two events that we co-produce, again, are on Toronto's waterfront. We have Sugar Shack, which is kind of an urban Sugar Shack experience at a place called Sugar Beach. And it's very Canadiana, it's very maple themed. It's trying to bring a traditional cabana sucre and into an urban setting. It's the only Sugar Shack in Toronto. And it's a free event. All of our events are completely free to the public. It's definitely more of a community event. There's about 10,000 to 15,000 people that come annually and growing, and we add as many new programs as we can each year, of course, budget depending. But of course, we have maple syrup, taffy rolled on snow, ice activities. We're thinking of doing a pancake breakfast this year. Definitely some cultural programming. We have an Indigenous storytelling to talk about the origins of maple syrup and maple taffy. And then, great Canadian fiddle show, some bilingual MCs, and then a lumberjack show, as you can see in the photo at the top. And then for the Toronto Waterfront Festival, it's an annual event in its 13th year this year. We just celebrated our 13th year in September. And that is a much larger event, anywhere from 100,000 to 700,000 in the year of the duck, as you can see all those people on the beach. And that is an event that really celebrates Toronto's waterfront. Our mandate is to always have on water and on land programming. So we bring the tall ships every 3 years. We've had flyboarding, which is kind of like a jetpack on the water. We've done dock dogs, which is a dog jumping, diving competition. So we always try to have on land and on water programming. Here's some of the current and past clients we've worked with. Again, a lot of events. Our president didn't kind of set out to do events when she first started in the industry, but from the nature of the two events that we co-produce, we just feel like we definitely specialize in that from a marketing, branding, sponsorship, government relations. So we do the PR for the Canadian International Air Show at the CNE. We do the sponsorship sales for Jerkfest, which is a Caribbean festival in Toronto. And we do, where's my other one? Oh, the Butter Tart Festival. We help them with sponsorship sales. And then we have some other marketing and branding clients. We do social media influencer work with Life Labs, so on and so forth. All right. So if there's any questions for me about my background, now's the time to ask. I assume not, because we're just about to get into the meat of it. Excuse me. So sponsorship versus experiential marketing. And again, I'm going to have my festival and event hat on when I speak about all of these kind of terms and designations. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with my background. Event sponsorship, in its simplest terms, is money that is given by a company to support an event in exchange for brand awareness and advertising opportunities. So they're using your event as a way to promote themselves, be associated with the event, have access to your audience and your promotions, but they really want to come on board as a larger partner and potentially own an option of your event or own a program at your event. So these sponsorships usually include benefits, marketing, logos. So they'll have their logo on your website. They'll have pre-promotion. They'll be included in your news releases, your e-newsletters, your social media. They might be a naming of your stage. So, RBC stage, the Menkes Sugar Shacks. That's what we had. One of a developer on the waterfront. They sponsored our Sugar Shacks. So they're definitely larger sponsor opportunities. And they want a full, well-rounded package, and they want to be involved in your event in a large way. This is the type of kind of event sponsorship on our website. Definitely gone are the days of gold, silver, bronze packages. It's not seen anymore in the industry. It's very much about customized packages, customized partnerships for your event. You absolutely can offer the same benefits to similar partner levels, but instead of saying, here's all of our gold sponsors, we say, here's our program partners. So Redpath was our entertainment partner. Clorox was our rubber duck sponsor. Billy Bishop sponsored our picnic lounge. Menkes was our info booth. So they're definitely customized. You can definitely have similar benefits again, but what's important to Redpath might not be important to Menkes. And so you have to kind of work with the partner to create these customized partnership packages. And then of course you want to show the love to the larger sponsors and make sure that you categorize them accordingly. But you can loop in, again, festival partners, program partners, things like that. Experiential marketing is a bit different. And this is where a brand just wants access to your audience. They want to get their product into the hands of the consumer physically, tangibly. They want you to taste test. They want, cans in hands, as they call it, or bums in seats. They want you to get into the car to see the new Hyundai. They want you to test out the Nintendo Switch. They don't just want a logo on your marketing. So marketing benefits and pre-promotion are not as important to experiential marketing partners who just want to come on site with a 10 by 10 booth or a big trailer, and they just want to be able to interact with your audience. You can have a crossover. So for example, Clorox and Redpath, you'll see on this page, they are two massive sponsors of our festivals. They have the full package. They have on-site activations to be able to engage with a partner, an audience member, but they also have logo, brand recognition, marketing promotions. But for something like Rubicon in the top left, Nintendo, they just want people to interact with their products, and they don't really care about getting their logo on your signage. They just want to hand out 10,000 cans. It also, again, of course, creates positive brand awareness. You go to a store after coming to one of our events, you see Rubicon, you know that you tried the amazing passion fruit guava, you buy it, and that absolutely creates amazing ROI for the brand. Okay, any quick questions on the differences between the two? I'm going to jump into how they can help. Yeah.
Yeah, Victoria, there is, Rick wanted to know, how do you get sponsors away from wanting those standard levels? I go in wanting to create customized packages and they just want the standard levels.
I would definitely do a discovery session. So if it's a renewal of a sponsor you've had before, objectives change and you don't want to offer them the same cookie cutter thing each year, I would go in and say that you're kind of, advancing your sponsorship this year, and you are wanting to do a discovery session with them to see what their objectives are. You want to make sure you're matching them with the most appropriate program, and that you can just say sponsorship has evolved into a different set of packages and a different set of the way of doing things. And so you really want to make sure they're getting the most benefit, and it's not really, it's not the strongest benefit for them to just be grouped into a whole bunch of gold sponsor packages, if that helps. Discovery sessions, I'll touch on briefly throughout the presentation, but I absolutely recommend, even if it's a sponsor you've had for 10 years, they might have a new initiative you're not aware of. And so if you go in with the same package you have for the past 10 years, it might not be a fit anymore. I hope that kind of helps.
Anybody else have any questions? Another way, just a quick note, there's a reaction button at the bottom of your screen. You can always raise your hand if you wanted to get Victoria's attention. It'll bring you to the top of the screen.
Okay, so I'm going to switch to revenue opportunities and activation inspiration, and how you can help essentially your bottom line of your festival or event, and be able to have a sponsor, partner, or experiential marketing activation cover some of your costs and enhance your event. And so I am again going to speak in the context of festivals, but you can take these concepts and suggestions and apply them to businesses. I know there's a wide range of businesses on this call. So brewery activations, visitor centers, theaters. So hoping that you can take some of this and use it for your business.
Victoria, before you move on, there's another question on sponsorship. When creating a customized sponsorship package, do you give different benefits to each potential sponsor, or are some similarities between packages?
Yes, absolutely. Definitely similarities between packages. So, in our news releases, we're going to have a lot of sponsors mentioned. On our website, you're obviously going to have a lot of logos, but the customization really comes from asking them what's important. They might say that brand awareness is number one. They want to be seen. So maybe you want to give them a package that has a large branding opportunity, like your stage. Can they be on your physical printed handouts? Can they be on your survey? That's kind of where the customization comes in. The packages and benefits can definitely be similar, but some of my partners say to me, they don't need a logo on our website, but they absolutely would like to have a section in our news release, and they're going to pay more for that. So again, I know it's hard to say, it's not one size fits all, but I definitely would have those discussions with the partner to see what's most important. And then you can absolutely say, for this level, at a higher level, you get this benefit. You absolutely can continue to do those like-minded benefits, but the customization really comes into what are they going to sponsor at your event. Okay, so from an infrastructure standpoint, this is sometimes a unique situation, and we've been fortunate. We have obviously the need for a stage and entertainment, and Toronto Argonauts one year had a physical trailer space that folded out into a stage. So we were able to save on the physical cost of our stage. We of course had tech and AV costs, but Toronto Argo's stage was a program at our event, and it helped us to be able to save the costs on bringing in a stage. Airbnb, they don't have a physical product to hand out, so they came on board as our lounge sponsor, and they provided picnic tables, which is something we needed. And we worked with them to brand those picnic tables with stickers. And then we had a captivated audience for brand reps to walk around, talk to people, you know, while they're enjoying their lunch, maybe they're waiting for a show to start, and they're able to get those in-person experiences to talk about Airbnb. This was years ago. I want to say this was 2017. So Airbnb was not as popular as it is today. So I know that these are kind of rare, unique situations, but I just want to kind of show some of the ways that you can help add to your, or take away from your bottom line, essentially. Entertainment and activities, XM companies are amazing for this. You know, essentially the more things people have to do on site at your events, the longer they stay. The longer people stay, the more money they spend. The more money they spend, of course, is economic impact for both the area, the province, the city. So this is an example, Hawaiian Punch. They wanted to hand out a new brand of Hawaiian Punch flavor. We have a beach on one of our event spaces. And so we worked with them to do a volleyball tournament. And so not only are people getting a free sample, but now they have something to do on site. And so the more things, again, that people have to do on site, you might even have return visitation because there's so many things to see and do that they didn't get to do it all in one day. They come back tomorrow. Photo ops. I know they're very simple, and I know, you know, selfies, photo ops, all that kind of stuff. It is absolutely one of the #1 things I recommend to brands, especially if they don't know, or a sponsor, if they don't know what to do. Again, if they don't have a physical product to hand out, it can be difficult to get the brand awareness on site. So Queens Quay Terminal, which is the rowboat, and Empire Communities are both developers on the waterfront. They had a branded ice sculpture where people could put their photo in and take, or put their face in and take a photo. We have photo frames, again, very simple. You could even make your own photo frame and then brand it accordingly year over year and sell that to a sponsor so you don't have to rent it. You could do dog photo frames. You could have that sponsored and sell that to IAMS, PetSmart, and then Florida Orange Juice. The duck has a 10-foot baby duck called Lucky the Duck. And so they branded Lucky the Duck with Florida Orange Juice. And you can see there that Lucky is drinking a Florida Orange Juice. And then selfie spots, similar to photo spots. So we had decals for the Year of the Duck, where we said, stand here for the best selfie spot with the duck, or pucker up for kind of a duck face photo. And then we had a partner who, again, is the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. I had been working on trying to secure them for 3 years. They finally said, yes, we want to come on board. Now, it's of course very difficult. How do we promote them? So we worked with them to create this mirrored house with a for sale sign at the front. And then they just had some feather banners and branding. And it was really just there and passive for people to interact. But there were lineups just to take a photo with this mirrored house. People love photo opportunities. So definitely something I recommend to help enhance your event, enhance your sponsorships. Another way you can help use sponsorship and experiential marketing with your events is to help fulfill a need for your audience on site. So what is a need that you know that they have? So for example, our Sugar Shack event, it's cold, it's March, it's on the waterfront, it can get very windy. we know that we want warm beverages for people. And if we can give them that for free, that's a massive value add for our audience. So I reached out to McCafe and Tim Hortons. McCafe came on board for 3 years. They had a McCafe truck that would travel around to events. They paid me to be there. I got $2,000 for them to give out free coffee. Sometimes they're going to want to do it for free. And I still think that's valuable because you now don't have to find a coffee vendor. If you work with one already, of course, you don't want to take that away from a local partner, but definitely something that we did not have for our event. So it's definitely checking a box for me. I don't have to worry about it. People are happy. People are warm. Water can be another one. I know city trucks have city water trucks, but they're very few and far between, especially in Toronto. So this is another event. We haven't worked with them, but this is an event. And Camelback is kind of a water pack for camping, hiking, things like that. So they branded the water stations on site. So again, you can help with boredom. You can help with long wait lines. You can talk to an XM activation company to say, I have long lineups at my event. And so we would love for you to walk up and down the lineups and hand out your free sparkling water or whatever. And it's a value add to your audience. And then everything I've talked about essentially enhances your visitor experience, but you can go further and help keep audiences on site longer for extra things. So we don't have this at our event, but it's something I've definitely pitched to a sponsor. You can rent it, or you can tell the sponsor that they could rent it themselves if they're not sure what to do. But a charging station, right? People's phones die quickly, especially if there's a lot of things to see and do and take photos of. So, you could have a branded charging station. So people are sitting there charging their phone, and while they're getting a bit of extra juice in their phone, they again have a captivated audience to talk to about their brand or their product. Misting stations, that's another really fun one. It's not an essential need, but it's absolutely an enhancement to the visitor experience. If it's a really hot day, if you know that you take place every year in the heat of the summer, get an inflatable misting station, brand it with, I've seen Coca-Cola do it, I've seen water companies do it. Again, a very cool enhancement for the visitor experience. This is my absolute favorite experiential marketing activation that I've ever seen. I put it in all of my presentations. I think it's so brilliant. Sometimes you just want to surprise and delight. Sometimes these companies just want to create memorable experiences. This was on a beach in Brazil, and Sprite was just handing out Sprite. From my understanding, there was no new bottle, there was no new branding. It was really just trying to get Sprite into the hands of people, and they made the beach showers into fountain pop machines. Again, brilliant. I love it so much. So sometimes you just want to, or sometimes these XM companies really just want to create positive brand awareness and bring something really cool and really fun. And they're very creative, right? These agencies are the ones coming up with these ideas. So you don't necessarily have to pitch these crazy wild ideas to them. Let them come to you. You just have to offer what you're able to give them, right? Here's the audience and demographics that I have, and I'll talk about data in a second because it's so important. But if they know that they're going to have access to their target audience, then it's a great fit. I do also want to mention for 2 seconds, and I could go on through a whole presentation about this, but I also want to talk about activation ratio before I switch to questions about the section. Activation ratio is really about having your sponsor, if they're giving you a fee and they're being involved in your event and not activating on site, they are missing out on a massive opportunity. It should be 1-to-1. For every dollar a sponsor spends for their sponsorship, so a $5,000 sponsorship to you as the producer, they should be spending $5,000 on their activation. This Sprite activation probably cost upwards of $25,000. I don't know, but they should have been sponsoring the event for $25,000. In Canada, the ratio is lower. In the States, sometimes it's 2-to-1. So they're spending double the amount of money on the activation because they're so elaborate and brand awareness is so important. In Canada, it's about 93 cents on the dollar. So we're definitely getting better. It used to be half, but I just want to, spark that. If you have any sponsors who are not doing anything at your event, they are missing out on a massive opportunity for sponsor recall and sponsor awareness. Any of our sponsors that don't activate on site are not being registered on site. people on our surveys don't even know that they're involved, even though we try to put their logo on all of our signage. A logo on a sign is not enough. Okay, that's a lot of info. Any questions before I move on to the next part?
I think that has a question. Oh, you don't? Okay.
All right.
I'm,
Oh,
Oh, Angela does.
I was thinking about asking a question. I'm just trying to, there's a lot to digest. And so like trying to fit that into our venue and figuring out how we could, because my mind's just gotten all these new ideas of all these different ways to, because we don't have a lot of, none of our sponsors actually, maybe one brings something on site. And so there's a huge potential there to go to our sponsors and say, you know, you should be maybe attending so that that way you can, you know, it'll raise your brand awareness, but then there might be something more that you could be doing to generate revenue for your own business as well. So all of those ideas are all really good. Now I'm just looking and thinking through all of my sponsors and how that could change. And so, yeah, I guess my question is, how did you figure out how to approach your sponsors and yeah, I guess.
yeah, I mean, I think it's just the evolution of how festivals and events are being used by brands. I think, you know, again, it's that discovery session to talk to them and say, we think that we could absolutely increase your brand recognition, awareness, ROI, with having a space on site. If you don't have any data to support that, definitely get that at your next event, which I'm going to talk about shortly, because that is what you can use to say, look at the sponsors that were recognized on site. 25% of our audience recognized Redpath as a sponsor. That you can't deny the data, right? So I think it's definitely using this year, if you don't have existing data or surveys, to get that information so you can prove to the sponsor that it's absolutely worth having a space on site.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. All right, I'm going to quickly go because I still have quite a bit, but I hope that it continues to spark things for people. Another thing I want everyone to do or look at is to look at your physical event space. So you want to maximize your space to the best of its ability and look at how unique it is. So as I've talked about, 2 of our event locations have a physical man-made beach. And as a result, I'm able to pitch brands according to that, right? We talked to Hawaiian Tropic, we did a beach volleyball, even a brand that isn't a beach theme. So a partner didn't know what to do. We talked to them about doing branded fun shovels and pails for kids to be able to do sand castles. These grass mounds that you can see on the screen are separate areas. I used to not promote those as to a sponsor. Now I sell those individually. We've measured them out individually and we sell that physical space to a sponsor. Some are flat, some are, you know, circular, some have, you know, more shade. So look at your physical event space and see how that could be beneficial to a sponsor. Again, we used to do a Sail and Cinema event, which was a floating movie screen on the water. And we had Toyota as a sponsor who branded all of these foldable, recyclable wood, what the heck's it called? Cardboard chairs that had amazing brand recognition for Toyota, because you take photos and everybody's back of their chair is Toyota. You're on the beach, you could do branded beach blankets. You could talk to a sponsor, you go to Canadian Tire. You know, we've tried to get chairs. Another thing that I think could be beneficial, especially if you have large, flat, open space, which we do not, is for test drives. Go to Auto Partners. If you have a massive parking lot with flat cement space, go to an auto partner. It is very, very important for them to do test drives, and they cannot do that in Toronto. I can tell you that much. I don't know any of the events that I work with that are able to physically offer the space. We've done 1 year where we did test drives where we had Hyundai cars were physically on site, but we had to walk people off of our site, put them in a car and drive along a very, very busy street that they sat in traffic for 15 minutes. So that test drive wasn't ideal. The on-site getting people into the car to see the new, the new features is great, but we don't have that. And so that's definitely a downfall to some of our locations. If you know that you have that, Jeep, they bring in these really elaborate, awesome activations that they could do on your space. And so definitely pitch that to a sponsor. I have 4 40 by 40 spaces that you can make your own. Again, something that I do not have access to for my events. Okay, I'm gonna go to data quickly because we got to talk about data, and I'm definitely conscious that we're halfway through. I can't believe it. So, data is the number one thing. Debbie asked me previously, what's my rule of thumb? Do I have any rules of thumb I want to talk about? This is my absolute number one rules of thumb is data. It can be done very easily, and I'm going to kind of talk about that because some people get discouraged with how many do I need, and do I need some elaborate, data counter or something? No. Paper surveys can do the job. I did paper surveys for 10 years. I had my interns at the time, and myself included. We would all get together on our computers and enter all of the paper surveys into SurveyMonkey. It takes a few days, a few weeks, but it's so worth it. This year, I got a bit more tech savvy. I did QR codes to a link on their phone, and they would fill it out while they were in wait lines. So as you can see, this is a big line for Clorox to get a Clorox coupon. I had my volunteers walk up and down the lines, have people scan the QR code, and I got 500 surveys for my festival weekend. You can do online surveys where you send it after the fact. I would be cognizant of the fact that people sometimes just fill them out just because, and you don't have accurate data. I'd rather have a smaller percentage of people get it on site than open it up to people that could do, maybe scam it a bit. We also offer a gift card, a $100 gift card to a restaurant on the waterfront, which is an incentive for people to fill it out. You can ask a variety of questions. We ask a lot of economic impact questions for some of our grants because we have a lot of grants. Both of our events are fully funded by sponsor dollars and government grants. We do not have tickets. We do not gate our events. We are not fortunate enough to be able to gate our events. We're in city public parks. You can't gate them. Or you get charged commercial rates. I won't get into that, but we are all free events. So we really need this data for our government grants and sponsors. We ask where people came from, how far did they travel? A lot of our grants need to have people coming in from over 40 kilometers away or more. That is a tourist. How did you get here? Did you walk? Did you cycle? Did you take public transit? Did you take a ride share program? If you see that there's a large percentage of people ride share, let's pitch Uber, let's pitch Lyft. If you don't have a large percent ride share, you can still pitch it and say, let's offer coupon codes. Let's use Lyft exclusively to get to our event. How much did people spend? Where did they stay? Household income. It's all anonymous unless they want to leave their email to enter the contest and be added to our e-newsletter. We also ask, which is not on this page, I apologize, but we also ask how people heard about us. Is our marketing working? Did you hear about us on social? Did you hear about us in our news releases? Did you hear about us from an online listing that we don't even know about? So there's a lot of opportunities to get. If you have a sponsor that's a very, very, very top tier sponsor. So Redpath, we used to ask Redpath brand awareness questions on our survey, maybe one. And that also helps to kind of, if you want to help secure a large sponsor, having a question on your survey could be a very big opportunity, but I'm only saying this for your top sponsor. I would not offer this to everyone. And then I would always ask, name 3 sponsors of our festival, and just put 3 lines unaided. That requires them to look around, that requires them to see what's in front of them, and that's a very big data point to take to those sponsors. Redpath has a 50 to 60% on average sponsor recall from our events, and the industry average for excellent is 18%. So they are always, beyond thrilled about their sponsor recall. Another set of data that I recommend you asking for any sponsors or experiential marketings that either currently activate on site or are going to activate on site, even if it's handouts that you hand out, keep track of everything given away on site, because that is great to be able to pitch other sponsors and experiential marketing partners that are similar. So for example, this, again, don't take these numbers as average. This was a duck year, and these numbers to me are amazing. So 35,000 samples, I can't even get my head over that, but that was little cream cheese samples at our most recent duck event. But again, if these numbers you have available, then I know that if a sparkling water company wants to come on board next year, they'll say to me, how many average samples have been handed out? And I have 10 years of data to be able to show them. If you don't have a physical product, that's okay. You could also say interacted with 5,000 people, handed out 4,000 coupons, whatever it may be. I ask every single one of my sponsors and XMs after the event. I know that after an event, you're kind of in that lull, you're so happy to be done and you're feeling kind of the effects. That's the time to still bug everyone, because that's when they'll have it top of mind. I also would ask the surrounding businesses, if your event was a resounding success, or if you just want to get feedback from the businesses in the area, we always ask after big years, especially the Duck and Tall Ships, we ask all the businesses, did you notice an increase or decrease or stay the same in your traffic, in your business? And those quotes I use directly in my grant applications, because that shows you that it is impacting the businesses in a positive way. And it really helps me secure government grants to show that I am bringing economic impact to the area. If you want to be fancy, if you have a bit of extra funds, if you have a grant that can cover the cost, you can work with companies like Enigma Research. They're an amazing company, and I'm more than happy to e-intro anyone who's interested. They work North American wide. They do full economic impact studies, and they do it all for you. They bring their staff on site, they survey your attendees, they give you the results, they give you very specific information, more than what I'm able to get from my regular surveys, but incredible data that you can use for 2 to 3 years. The data is so detailed that you can have it for multiple years. If you also have some extra funds, I would recommend getting survey counters or data counters, attendance counters. So I do this for my festivals now, and they're little boxes that ping anonymously off of cell phone data, so they can tell you much more accurately the attendance. And it's called Live Gauge. Again, more than happy to make introductions to anyone. But this is some of the data they give you. They give you census data, household income, you know, how people got there, do they rent, do they own, age, you know, are people new Canadians, language spoken, things like that. Then what do you do with all this data? You have all this data now. You have to give a post report to your festival, or to your sponsors, to your partners, to your stakeholders. So these post-event audits include, I used to be very detailed, too detailed, like 20 pages, not needed. Now I do about, 10 to 15, and I take the data, I take my marketing, my PR, examples of all of the ways that I promoted the event, photos on site, all of my data that I take from my surveys, and I give it in a full package to my sponsors. If anybody after this, my email's at the end, email me and I can send you an example. I didn't have time in this presentation to go through it because they're quite detailed, but just to give you an example of what those post reports are. I also use those post reports to pitch sponsors to say, you want to be involved in our event? Look at all the awesome opportunities, the promotions, it basically sells your event for you. Okay, again, I know a lot of info. Any questions from the data side of things, which I know is a lot? Not yet.
I don't see any questions in the chat, and I don't see any hands. So
Okay. No problem. Excuse me. Okay. So I know it's great that I've talked about all the great ways that experiential marketing and sponsors can enhance your event, or the way that they've done it for our events. But I want to give you how. Where do you start? How can you secure these companies? It's great to brag about it, so to speak, but I want to give you tangible, tactical advice always. So here's a few tips and tricks for getting started at the basic level.
okay, so before you start, we do have
Yeah.
a question. Nancy says, do you share your data with the general public, or just your sponsors and funding partners?
We don't share it from on our website or anything like that. I don't see why we wouldn't. I mean, it's not private. We publicly share our attendance, and maybe a few other data and demos, but I would if there was a need to. We definitely, again, share it with all of our government grant reps and sponsors. I don't find that audiences are that interested or care about who's there. But again, it could be something you send in an e-newsletter, maybe if you want to do a post report, you know, thanks for coming. Here's some of the top level data that we got. Also, too, general public doesn't really know impressions or reach, or they might not really get what that means. But I don't see why not. Even like top level data you could share.
We have another question. Nancy says, thank you. And Kelly says, we operate a farmer's market in our town square. What's the best way to collect data when working with 30 plus vendors?
Okay. If you can ask for, instead of, they might not be willing to give you the sales figures that they did, but how many people, so how many interactions or transactions they did. If they have one of those swipe cards or anything that isn't cash, they should be able to tell you that we did 400 or 30 in transactions. And so you can use that information to help sell other vendors. If you have the capacity or have an info tent at the front, I would have either a stack of paper surveys or a QR code for people to scan. Absolutely offer an incentive, because it is more work on the person to be able to scan it and fill it out versus having a volunteer walk around with surveys. So have some sort of incentive. Maybe you could put a package together, you know, put the basket on the info booth, enter to win, enter a quick survey, 5-question survey, enter to win this vendor basket of XYZ. And then you could also ask some of the vendors for some of their social data or demographics with regards to the event. So if you have a vendor that's actively posting or promoting your event or their market, you could absolutely get some of their data so that you can say, look how we're showing up on social, look at our partners that are showing up on social, if that helps. Okay, so I'm going to kind of riddle off some of these, and this presentation will be available after. I know it's a lot of kind of just talking points, but hopefully it's beneficial afterwards. You can absolutely have it. So very basically, I start with a blank Excel doc and a Google search. And myself, my team, we've built a massive database now, but I'm telling you, it's 10 years of building that. So don't get discouraged. And I know it will be different. We're in different provinces, we're in different cities. So I know that Toronto probably has significantly more XM specific agencies, but that's not to say you can't expand your search. A lot of these companies do summer tours and they go all across Canada. I've secured an XM agency that did a Toronto event with me. They were going to Montreal. They were, I think, going out east, and then they were ending in Vancouver or something. So they do have tours. So research experiential marketing agencies on their own. If you're not getting very far, there's only a few. Look up PR agencies, ad agencies, and marketing agencies. They will all have clients that either they manage their experiential marketing sponsorship budget, or they know who will, and maybe they can make an e-intro. Find as many contacts at that agency as you can, and real people are, of course, better than an info at. But as many people as you can, because there is a very high turnover in agencies. So build a relationship with as many people as you can, because I one time dealt with 5 different people for one event in a span of 6 months. They either move on, they quit, they get fired, unfortunately, they downsize, they move clients. So they're still at the agency, but they say, I'm no longer with McCafe Victoria, I'm with Coca-Cola. So really, you know, try to build relationships, because then you got to start from scratch, and that's not fun. Have your deck. So what we've talked about with data, demographics, your hero shots, which is the best shot. So I always use a great shot of the duck, or crowded shots, or anything that you feel shows your event, and send that deck to your agency list. If you don't have data currently, I would look at your social media insights, your Google Analytics. If you don't have Google Analytics, I absolutely recommend setting that up. I know it's tedious. I'm not very tech savvy either, but Google itself can tell you a lot about how to set those up. People do YouTube videos. So definitely get that. If you work with, and I don't know if this is the same in the East, but we have local business improvement areas. So there's local BIAs in Toronto, and then we have the Waterfront BIA. If you work with a group like that, see if they have data about your area in general, or maybe if you operate in July, get the data for the July or the summer months. Agencies know their clients' objectives best. So as much as you want to pitch directly to McCafe, they're going to send you probably back to the XM agency. That's not to say you can't pitch McCafe, but I usually go to an agency and I say, because agencies will have 15 to 20 clients, I will say, here's our event, here's all the data demos, here's the target audience, here's what we bring in. Do you have a client that's a good fit? They're going to know best and they're going to come forward. I secured Clorox because I pitched their PR agency and I just asked them, do they have a client that fits? They came to me and said, yeah, actually, we think there's a really cool opportunity to talk about cleaning your bath toys with Clorox. I did not come up with that pitch, right? I mean, I wish I did. I wish I was smart enough to pitch that, but I knew that this agency had 20 clients and hopefully one of their clients was a great fit. I got Florida Orange Juice from the same thing. They wanted to talk about, Florida Orange Juice. They wanted to do something fun and new. They did that whole lucky photo op. So they're going to know more about their clients than we will ever. And again, ask for that discovery session. So even if they don't have a client that's a fit, ask them for 5 minutes, 10 minutes for them to walk through who their clients are, what their clients look for. And if you have an event or a sponsorship partnership package that would be a great fit, then oh, I remember that Tim Hortons had Rubicon Sparkling Water really wants to go to culture events, and so we pitch them Jerkfest. So really, again, those discovery sessions, your Excel document is going to be very detailed with multiple notes. I have a section that says don't pitch again for these reasons. Either the agency doesn't do experiential marketing or sponsorship, or the agency is just not interested and I don't want to bother them anymore. So it's tedious, but definitely keep those lists up to date and do a search every 3 to 6 months. There's new companies all the time. If you have multiple events, if you're a brewery and you have 16 events throughout the summer, I would find a way to pitch all of those in one. Either send different pitch decks. Of course, you're not going to send 16 decks, but I send my Sugar Shack deck, my Butter Tart deck, and my Jerkfest deck together, and I separate. Here's Butter Tart info in the target demo. Here's the Jerkfest target demo. Instead of bugging them 3 times with 3 different separate pitches, and again, this is just for my XM agencies, not my sponsors. Sponsors, I try to create customized opportunities. But again, there's no harm in telling the sponsor all the different things that you have going on and what could be a fit for them. And again, doing the discovery session. Okay, finally, be diligent in your follow-ups. Follow up. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. A no is sometimes just as good as a yes because you're able to ask them, why not? Like respectfully, why not? Would you mind telling me what types of events or sponsorships that you do so that I can make a note for future packages if something comes forward? Sometimes a no, again, is just as good. It gives you information that you don't have from nobody responding. Okay. My last section is coming up with festival and event trends. I'm cognizant of the fact that we have about 10 minutes, so I didn't know if there's any questions with the pitching side that I can answer.
There is one here. Are you open to sharing an example of a pitch deck you've put together? Would love to see a sample.
Sure, yep, no problem. Email me after this. My details are on the last slide. Okay, so festival trends. I've done quite a bit of searching. I've, been at quite a few events this summer. I was at over 6 in Toronto, at least in the surrounding areas. And so I've put together what I'm seeing at events, what I'm seeing through sponsorship, and what I'm seeing just in general in North America festivals and events production, and what programs I'm continuing to see. Okay. So large installations. This is Borat. This was a XM agency came to us. We didn't do this. I wish we did. They came to us in Toronto, said that they wanted to have a floating Borat to promote their event, promote the Borat coming out on Prime. This was during COVID. But I use this photo to show that large installations, especially the duck and the success of the duck every time we bring her, people love a large photo op. It doesn't do anything, I love the duck to death, but she doesn't do anything. She sits there, she's cute, people take selfies. We build the event around the spectacle, but spectacles, photo ops, things for people to take a photo of is still just as popular as it's ever been. Interactivity. So we saw a lot of this from a hands-off perspective during COVID, but this is a company called Krios. They also do this. But this is an interactive bonfire. When people dance around it and jump, the bonfire light bulbs go up and music goes with it as well. So you are physically interacting with this piece of art. It engages audiences. Again, it's kind of remote or removed. You're not physically touching something, but people like interactivity. They want to be able to kind of, essentially interact with your activities and do something. I am seeing more tangible things. People, activities and XM agencies are being smart about sterilization, and health and safety is still, first and foremost, but people are wanting to interact with things. Spinning, I saw a lot of, spinning wheels, beanbag toss games, like games and interactivity. This is a video of an augmented reality that we did at our socially distant COVID festival. It's called a waterfront trail. And this is a video of, we had these different QR codes along the waterfront. This was the Red Pass sugar plant coming to life. There's all these whales on the side of it. And this augmented reality and virtual reality is definitely something I'm seeing from an event perspective, from a sponsor perspective, some really unique things that are being done with QR codes. This is another one. So we did this very specifically to these doors open, and you can see, hopefully that's working. I don't know if it's working on my end. These doors open and you can see the exact building as it was way back when. So this is an original photo of the waterfront with the ships and the train, and you can see the same building is still there, and we did the exact vantage point. So this was one of our programs. Expensive, I will say, definitely customized. Augmented reality can be expensive because it has to be developed from scratch and coded from scratch, but you can use existing ones. I've seen brands where they have wings painted on the side of a bar, brewery, business, and you scan it and you can see the wings flapping and stuff like that. Sustainability, absolutely. Environmental consciousness is no longer a trend. I know I'm talking about festival trends, but it's here to stay. It's a necessity. So event planners, we need to prioritize sustainability, eco-friendly practices from, locally sourced goods, waste, responsibility for, cans and bottles. If you have a lot of experiential marketing activations on site, you also have to talk about and look at your garbage, your recycling. You need to accommodate for that, which is sometimes a lot more than anticipated. So maybe you want to work that into the cost of them to be there. Depending on how many samples they want to give out, they have to help with some of your garbage costs, because we had tons of recycled goods and garbage on our festival because of all these activations. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Make sure all aspects of your event, from your programming on site, your representation, your website. So we have the Accessibilities of Ontarians with Disabilities Act. I'm sure there's a similar one for you out east, but make sure that your website is AODA compliant. Make sure your signage is compliant. Make sure that you are including this in your grants, your cultural programs. Grants, number one, this is what they're asking on all grants. So just make sure that this is part of your program no matter what. And then AI and personalization. So, ChatGPT and AI is taking over the world and all that kind of stuff. Yes, it can be daunting. Play around with things like ChatGPT. It can definitely help you digesting large pieces of content. It's not writing things for me. I don't think it ever will, but it's taking research that I'm doing, right? I put in a bunch of research that I found and I asked it to help me with the top 10 themes they're seeing. And that is through ChatGPT. So play around with it, get a free account, put it up on your computer. I don't use it every day, but I definitely want to make a point of using it more consistently because I think it is something that can help us, not hinder us, or it's not going to take over. It's going to help us. So you can see this with some activations and experiential marketing. I didn't see any this year, but I definitely think we're going to start to see more personalization. Maybe you walk into a trailer space, you scan something, or you show them your social, it takes account of you, and then it gives you something personalized with a brand on it. But definitely something to watch for future years. And then just finally, before I recap and kind of finish with questions, XM trends, similar to what I've been saying this entire presentation, there was a time, especially during COVID, that XM stopped completely, that people didn't want to interact, that brand launches had to stop, that new flavors and new products had to stop. I think that's back full force now. I saw so many activations this year. We had the most experiential marketing activations on our festival site this year than I've ever had. Yes, that is also to do with the success of the duck, but we had free water, free sparkling water, free Cheez-Its, free cream cheese, Beck Taxi on board, free Florida orange juice, free Red Pass sugar cookies, Farm Boy cookies, blah, 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 blah. So I'm saying that to say that they're not super crazy savvy. As you can see, it's a booth with product. Yes, they have some cool trailers. Yes, they can have some cool, installations, but at the core, they want to get their product into the hands of your audience that you brought there for them. That's why they want to be involved, right? Okay, I've spoken a lot. I'm coming under time, which I'm very proud of. This is a recap of all of the things that I talked about. I will put my info up so you can grab that, but any questions?
Angela has her hand up, I think.
That's a lot again. I feel like the theme sort of sounds like partnerships. So it's figuring out the sponsors and what it is they're looking for and trying to provide, because the economy is pinching us all. So it's pinching our sponsors, it's pinching our events, it's pinching everybody's budgets. So how do we deliver a product that's going to be amazing and it's going to be mutually beneficial and it's going to help our sponsor to maybe sell more of their product? It's going to get more people out. It's going to foster a sense of community. It feels like the theme is to figure out how to differentiate and then provide something that the sponsors will believe in and that people will believe in. So I feel like I'm trying to wrap my mind around how I do that for the next event.
Right.
You inspired me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad.
Nancy says such wonderful information. Thank you for sharing. Anything else? Anyone? Oh, Francoise has something.
Yeah, so you said the presentation would be available. Are we going to get it through Gmist, or should I email you and then you'll email back to me? I'm only interested in a few slides, but I'd like to have the whole deck.
I can make sure that it gets to Gmist and you can reach out to them.
Excellent. Darlene is right across the street from you, so.
Yes, Francois, we will have this up on our website whenever Debbie and them get it to us.
Awesome, thanks.
Anything else, anyone? Thank you so much, Victoria. Very informative and great info. This is very helpful and informative. Thank you. If that's it, then yeah, we're done.
I just wanted to take a minute, Debbie, and just thank everyone and remind everyone that before you sign up or when you sign up, there'll be a short survey.
Correct. And Victoria, thank you for your time and the amazing information. I took notes even because for Thea. So yeah. So
I did too, Victoria.
Good, I'm glad. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. This comes to an end for this presentation. Have a great, holiday season's right around the corner. So have a great holiday season and hope to see you again next year.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.